one of the big scandals that occurred in our struggle during the bankruptcy, and especially after the bankruptcy and before U.S. Steel bought us, was we had TriCap, which was one of the subsidiaries of Brookfield Asset Management. They were the biggest shareholder in the new Stelco, and in a year and a half, they made 700% on their money. And the head of this TriCap was a guy named Cyrus Madden, and he was featured in a National Post magazine as a financial genius. This scam put him on the map, that he made 700% on his money, and every hedge fund manager and scammer in Canada was supposed to take lessons from what they did at Stelco. They flipped. They got new shares for $5.50 a share, and in a year and a half they sold them for $38.50 and left town. So we were left with U.S. Steel owning us. So that's one point. The second point is what really irks us is when U.S. Steel took us over. The first year things were, going along pretty well. The third quarter of 2008, they actually made record profits in the history of U.S. Steel. And we, at our plant, there was a record, profits, and there was a bonus, and there was all this. Within 1 month of the end of that third quarter, our plant was shut down because of the financial crisis that Linda referred to, that within 1 month, the whole steel industry in North America had collapsed, and it would basically collapse because none of their customers could get any financing to buy any steel. It went that quickly. So we realized then, when they shut our plant down, that okay, we're in for a big battle, and basically we started then preparing for what's happening now. But just to give you an idea that this isn't out of the blue, this has been going on in North America for quite a while. As John referred to, like the Local 1005 was one of the unions that arose after the Second World War, and they were part of the steelworkers and auto workers taking on these companies to just have the right to have a union. And if you've seen the Defying the Law, I mean, that reflects a lot of that. So what they did is we won that strike, and there was an arrangement made, and not just at Stelco, but also in Canada and a lot of North America, and I think it's referred to as a social contract. That they would have labor peace for a few years, then they would have a contract, and they might or might not go on strike. Workers got better wages, they got pensions, and there was sort of a deal between these companies and the workers. Unfortunately, what's happened is, in our opinion, the social contract ended. And we really got wind of it back in 2003 when I first got elected, when the CEO of the company called us in, and as less than a month after I took office, they called us in and said, listen, we got a problem. All our competitors in the States are now selling steel. Oh, closer to Mike. Oh, okay. They're now selling steel in Stelco's market, and at $40, $50 a less than a ton, and they did all these things to their pensioners in the States, and they wanted our help to do the same thing to the pensioners in Hamilton. So at that time we said, well, what the heck happened in the pensioner to the pensioners in the States? So what it turned out was there were 240,000 pensioners, steelworker pensioners, that had their pensions reduced anywhere from 10 to 70%. And it took us a little bit of digging to find that out. You literally have to go to the different cities and get the newspapers, and because there wasn't really much noise made about it. And so we had a quick learning curve. While we're learning that, then we had a big meeting, and the Stelco CEO says, we want a 20% pay cut from you guys and a 20% increase in productivity. We said no, and we're going fast now. 6 months later, they filed for bankruptcy because they'd seen. This is the way they did it in the U.S. Air Canada did it. Other companies did it. If you file for bankruptcy, that panics the union. They give you whatever you want, and then they restructure the company, and everything's fine. The company gets what they want, you know, concessions of different kinds and whatever. So as many of you may know, we didn't agree to that. We spent 2.5 years in bankruptcy basically saying, we're not going to play ball here. We've got a contract. We think labor law trumps your CCAA, and at the end of the day, we got out unscathed. But the vultures took over, TriCap, one of them. They brought some Rodney Mott in from the US and some other hedge funds. They got the new Stelco, and then, as I said, they flipped it and made 700% in their money in a 1.5 years. US Steel takes over, and now we're where we are. So what they're trying to do now is get what they couldn't get back in 2003, what they couldn't get during the bankruptcy. So we've, you know, it's 7-8 years of holding them off. And what they want now is they want our pension plan. Now, when US Steel took over, they basically told the government that, listen, we see the contract, we see the pension plan, we can live with it. There's no problem. We want it, so they got approval to buy it. As most of you may know, there was also we're in the middle of a court case. The federal government sued US Steel because they didn't live up to 2 commitments. They were supposed to keep 3,100 people working for 3 years, and they were supposed to produce 4.3 million tons a year for 3 years, and they only did it for 1 year, so they're in court for that. But they also now are breaking their other commitment that now all of a sudden they can't live up to the contract. And this negotiations, like, we never even asked for anything. We said, listen, we can live with that contract from 2007. We don't want to complicate things. We know times are tough, and we'll keep the same pension. And they said, no, we want 2 main things. One is we want the workers at Stelco to give up their indexing, which is something we've had since 1991 after a strike. And they want to close the pension plan to new hires. So this is closing the plan to new hires is basically saying the next generation don't deserve a pension. We'll just put them in some savings plan, and whatever they get at the end of their working career they get, and too bad. And pensions are, you know, they're not fad anymore. So they wanted us also, so 2 things. They wanted us to agree to take the indexing off 9,000 pensioners. Now, even to ask that is quite an insult. You know, these are the workers, they work 30, 40 years. A lot of them, you know, have been through 3, 4 strikes. Whatever wages and benefits we have, they're the ones that fought for it and won it. And so now we're going to return that favor and say, no, no, we're going to cut you loose. And they want us to shaft the new hires. So our assessment of that was one of their objectives, US Steel objectives in Hamilton, is to actually smash the union. And the way they want to do it is they want to get the union to agree to do this, to attack the pensioners and to attack the next generation. Once you do that, I mean, how are you ever going to stand up and fight for anything? Because, you know, someone's going to throw it in your face. Well, you shafted the 9,000 pensioners. And if you want to know the significance of doing that, 3,000 of those pensioners make less than $1,000 a month, and they make from $300 to $1,000 a month. 78% of those pensioners are widows, because most of the men, the workforce had actually died, and it's widows that were left. And so they can be making $300, and a lot of them are making $300 to $500 a month on a pension. So this is the ones that US Steel wants us to attack. So we started, like, the recent history is 2 years ago we started preparing for this. We basically knew, okay, now we're into a fight for our lives. We started leafleting both in our plants, so weekly leaflets. There's the latest issues on the tables, or on the table in the back. You can see the other ones if you go to our website, which is listed on that leaflet. But basically preparing not just our workforce, but the people of Hamilton for what's coming up, and especially around this issue, or 2 issues. One is the issue of pensions. that as far as we're concerned, we think we should go the other way, not give up the pension plans that workers have, the defined benefit plans. We should put it that everyone should have them. Everyone should have a decent retirement. And it's a very serious fight. I mean, like Linda McQuaid referred to, this is huge. Like, so the people who, the billionaires, the ones who are making the kill, and the ones who caused the financial crisis and all that, they're the ones driving this demand that the people should give up their pensions and, you know, just rely on the market, whatever happens to the market, and you don't deserve a retirement. So we're having a, anyway, that's to have that fight, and to win that fight, you have to convince the 70% of the people in the country who don't have pensions that they should have a pension. So that's part of the fight that we've been waging in Hamilton, that this is where, this is how we're going to win this. The second thing that is huge in Hamilton, because it is steel town, we're launching, our part of our campaign is also to keep, we call it Stelco still, keep Stelco producing, manufacturing yes, nation wrecking no, that Canada still needs steel. It's not, it's unconscionable that you can just ship the steel in from the States, or, you know, like they shut our blast furnace down and started 2 up in the States to pick up the slack, just so they could shaft us. So it's unconscionable that they can wipe out the steel industry in Canada, and we're left at the mercy of some foreign power to decide what happens to Canada. It's a whole, for us it's a question of what kind of a Canada are we going to have, what kind of a nation we're going to have. So we're attacking it from that perspective, that it's not just what we're fighting for, you know, our pensioners or our pension and all this. This is much bigger than that. We're fighting for everyone. So in that sense, we're calling on support, but the most support you can give us is actually to wage the battles where you are. That's, you know, like we're going to be speaking to the auto workers tomorrow, and the different teachers unions and all. Like this is a fight all across the country that has to be waged. So we definitely like to support, but it's not that, you know, people shouldn't look at it, oh, we're helping 1005. We are fighting for the whole country, for the whole, anybody, what Canada.